one?
Well, the key to Freud's claim that his psychoanalysis, his theory of the mind, is this outrage to human self-love, our sense of our own importance, our sense of ourselves as noble creatures. This notion of the unconscious somehow challenges all that. But how so? And what do we mean by the unconscious? And, what evidence is there that there is this vast, as he calls, he uses sometimes the metaphor of the ocean, that conscious life is just the surface of this vast ocean of unconscious thinking, willing, wanting, desiring. Well, the key was dreams, right? A key was dream analysis. And this here itself is a kind of a challenge in itself. Right? The notion, he says, every time a dream is completely comprehensible to us, it proves to be an hallucinated wish fulfillment. That is, our dreams, in our dreams, what we really want shows up. That is somehow the key to every dream is to see it as the fulfillment of a wish, the hallucinated fulfillment of a wish, a fantasy. That is that itself is kind of sobering, considering what we occasionally dream. To think that everything that we dream in some way or another is a reflection of what we really want, right? And maybe can't admit to ourselves that it's what we really want. But certainly dreams don't seem to be simple wish fulfillments. Dreams are very complex, and all sorts of things happen in dreams that don't seem to be wish fulfillments. It seemed to perhaps be the very opposite, like in nightmares. But so how can we say, or how can he say, that the dream is always a wish fulfillment? Well, the important thing here is this idea of dream distortion. That is that in dreams we do fulfill our wishes, but in a distorted form. That is, he calls a distorted substitute. That is, yes, our dreams are wish fulfillments, hallucinated wish fulfillments, but they're not simple wish fulfillments. That is, they don't represent our wishes in direct form many times. What is he talking about here? Well, I mean, read this example of a dream that a woman had, an older woman had, and then, think about it if you want to. A very interesting and weird and dream of a highly sexual nature, right? Of an older woman who's basically volunteering during World War I to act as a prostitute, right? That is, in her dream, in this sort of very sort of weird way, and with all these sort of things cut out and nothing ever being said in an outright way, she's basically volunteering to act as a prostitute for the German troops, the Austrian troops, I guess, during World War I. And his idea is that these, the dream itself has these ellipses, has these gaps, and he compares looking at this woman's dream to reading a paper in Austria, I guess, during World War I, when the news was censored. Let's see if I can find that. He talks here about reading the newspaper. He says, I hope you will recognize the inevitability of the conclusion that it is the shocking character of these dreams, of these places in the dream, that was a motive for their suppression. Yet where do you find a parallel for this state of affairs? In these times, you need not seek far. And of course, this is, I believe, is during World War I. Take up any political paper, and you will find that the text is obliterated here and there, and that in its place shimmers the white of the paper. You know that this is the work of the newspaper censor. This is during active government censorship of the news. In these blank spaces, something was printed which was not to the liking of the censorship authorities, and for that reason it was crossed out. You think that it is a pity that it probably was the most interesting part. It was the best part. Well, the idea is that just as in a repressive government, that censors may blot out parts of the newspaper that they don't think are appropriate, that we do the same thing internally, and that this woman who was dreaming about offering herself up as a sex worker, basically for the army, was doing the same thing. That Freud thought that this whole dream was her unconscious sexual desires trying to find expression. But even as she's dreaming, even as she's unconscious, even as she's asleep, she finds this desire, this sexual desire, to be so shameful that she can't even dream it directly, and so that there are gaps and distortions. That is, that these unconscious urges that she would never be able to admit to others, much less admit to herself, that they need to be repressed. And so what Freud is suggesting is that there's this whole thing going on in dreams where we have unconscious wishes and desires of which we're not aware, which try to find expression in our dreams. But there's another part of us, a repressive part, also unconscious, which doesn't allow those things to come out directly, which distorts the wishes and presents them in a more acceptable form. As he says here, far more frequently, the censorship manifests itself according to the second type through the production of weakenings, innuendos, illusions, instead of direct truthfulness. So right here in this theory of the dream, there is this indication that within this human being, there are these vast and powerful unconscious forces that are at work. Not only the unconscious wishes of what the dreamer herself must regard as shameful wishes and desires, but also an unconscious dream censorship, an unconscious repression, where that those wishes are distorted so that the dreamer can avoid the truth about herself. Right? And that it's not just her. The idea is that all of us do this all the time. So that the dream can be seen as the crucial place where this idea that human beings think that they're in control. We think that, at least within myself. I mean, my life, my practical life, is subject to all these forces that are much larger than me and that I can't change. Economic forces, political forces, the forces of nature. But at least I think that myself, at least my internal life, my thoughts and feelings are my own. Well, Freud says not even there, right? Not even there, because there's all sorts of thoughts and feelings that you have which you're not even aware of. And you're not aware of them mostly because you've repressed them. Because many of those thoughts and feelings, maybe most of them, are ones that you really couldn't even admit to yourself. There's a key quote here I want to find. I'll do it in the last video. That kind of shows, I think, in a dramatic way, what he's getting at.